Yeah. Hey. Step back, wanna kiss yourself, say hi. Can you dig it? Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. It's Friday night on Untethered Live, and I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and tonight we're going all the way, baby. We're going all the way down the rabbit hole. We're going to go for wit, consternation. That's what we're after for tonight. How is everybody doing? How's your week been? I had an encounter with an alien this week, and I'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned. Who's here? Amanda says, hi, Untethered Live family. Good to see you all. Happy Friday. I hope everyone had a good week. Hi, Jake. How are you tonight? Pimpin'. Straight pimpin'. You know how it goes. I'm wearing all my jewelry because, I feel freaky tonight. You know how it is. Anyway, Fab Daddy's here. He goes, oh, heck no. It's the weekend. Where did the week go? Blink of an eye. Yes, the week goes by rather quickly, especially when it's freezing cold and snowy out and you get broke into and stuff like that, which is something that happened to me this week. I'll tell you all about it. It was an alien. Thank you to the people who make the coffee for the show. I appreciate it. Tonight's episode is brought to you by this particular hot cup of coffee. Don't you want to have a cup with me and talk about aliens in the world? If so, go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup, and let's get this party rolling. If you don't have a cup, though, I recommend you get one in the description below. The first one has my face on it. It is fantastic. It holds coffee quite well. It looks good on a coffee table. It holds liberal tears. It's made out of porcelain, and if you chuck it at somebody, it'll leave a mark when it hits them. So get one while supplies last. Also, like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box if you want to show a little love. Throw a little clang-a-lang my way, and by God, VJ. You can do that by hitting the chat box over there or CashApp, $JakeJohnsonband. And also, if you would like to have a place to keep up with everybody outside of the show, away from good old Jake, you can do that by going to Facebook.com/UntetheredLive family. It's all one word, Untethered Live family. It's a great place to keep up with each other, share pictures, videos, texts, and chats, and keep up with all the news from Untethered Live Universe, all in one place. Facebook.com/UntetheredLive family, and I appreciate you showing up. Now, Fab Daddy, how's your week been? What have you been up to, my friend? Amanda says, you get a gold star, by the way, for being first in chat. Here's your gold star. Amanda says, hi, Fab Daddy. Can you dig it? Can you? Well, can you, punk? Can you dig it, big pimpin'? Big something. Full of something, for sure. Fab Daddy says, hey, cutie, what's your name? My name is Pitt, and you ain't talking your way out of this shit. What's up, Dad? Oh. Amanda says, LOL, you're welcome always. Thank you. I guess you're welcoming me for the coffee. Yes. I couldn't live without my coffee maker. Mandy says, I cleaned my office maker today. Oh, sorry, coffee maker today. I have sunglasses on. I can't read anyway, but still. I cleaned my coffee maker today. Well, how did you clean it? Did you use vinegar or did you do just a water thing or what? What did you use on your coffee maker? I like to just run hot vinegar through mine once a year. That's all I do. Fab Dad says, lots of calcium and lime. Well, what are you making in it? Jesus. Concrete? No, the reason for the jewelry, my sister had a father who was a entertainer, kind of an Elvis type, and he had a bunch of jewelry and stuff like that, and he passed away recently, and he passed it all to her, along with some guitars and stuff like that, and it came my way because I do the same thing. So in honor of him, I'm wearing his jewelry, so that's what that's all about. It's not a me thing normally, but I figured, what the heck, it looks good. I'll go with it. Fab Daddy says, beat Jake. He's been a bad dog. I like it. I'm going to have to rewrite that song now. What it is, he says, is this Miami Vice night? Yes. And I am One of those guys, the one with the white jacket. It's been years since I've seen that show. I'm just going all out tonight what it is, that's all. What it is says, hello, Amanda, and to all. Hello, what it is, what's up? How's your week been? What have you been up to? Have you been getting in trouble? Or not? Or all? Fab Daddy says vinegar. That's what I do too. Yeah, they got stuff to clean coffee makers with, but I don't like the way it tastes afterwards. A good hot run of vinegar and then run water through it one more time and it's fine. What it is says showboating. Showboating? Nah, love boating. You got to get on the love boat for me to give you the show. Bill Bennett says, hello, Untethered Live fam. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. You guys hear Trump in the White House with the governors. It was great. Or did he do something new today? I haven't seen it. I've been cleanup mode all day. We had an illegal alien break into our shop and do about $5,000 worth of damage, just destroying things. Broke all the windows, beat up the machines, tore up the expensive gear, and threw clean new T-shirts all over the floor, threw ink everywhere. It was horrible. It's a disaster. So I spent the whole day boarding up windows and cleaning up mess. But I know for a fact that one of those illegal aliens is going home, because that's what happens when you destroy somebody's personal property and you don't live here. Amanda says, hi, Bill. And what it is I've been snowed in. We never did get any snow. We were promised it, but it never snowed. It was just ice. We got about 1 inch of white on the ground, but it's ice, not snow. Bill says, was he a racist? I have no idea. I didn't ask him, whether he liked Formula One or NASCAR or anything like that. I was just kind of upset that he destroyed my business and nearly put me out of work. I don't know if he knows it or not, but with the business down, I don't make any money. So I'm out of work until all the new stuff comes in that we have to order to replace all the stuff he broke for no reason. It would be one thing if he just broke in to get warm. I would be okay with that. But he didn't. He went in, he broke in, he kicked in the back door, then he went around the building and threw rocks through the front window, the whole front display, 2 big windows, and then the door's glass, and all that was broke. Then he came inside and went to tearing up equipment and throwing things across the room, and everything's broken, bent, and nasty, and ink everywhere, and ink don't dry, so you can't get it out, You got to be very careful with that stuff. And it's about $250 a gallon, and that's for the cheap stuff, not the expensive stuff, and we have some of that too. So the guy did a number on us, so I'm glad he's sitting in jail tonight. Fab Daddy says, I took the love boat to Fantasy Island and ended up on Gilligan's Island. That's a bad week there, Fab Daddy. Yeah. Friday was there. Friday was there. That must be a Love Boat character. I can't remember. Bill Bennett says, he got the wrong size T-shirt, LOL. Sorry. That's not cool. Yeah, it looked like vengeance. I mean, if you saw it, I got pictures, but if you saw the damage that he did, it looked like he was mad about something. We don't know the guy. Never seen him before. And he was arrested 2 weeks ago for damage of personal property and was in jail, and they let him out, and then 10 days later, here he is at our place, destroying our place, and right back in jail. Got a Florida driver's license, but he's not legal. Kind of makes you wonder why people do things like that. The Love Boat, exciting and new. Nice. Deport his ass. Well, I hope ICE is on it. He got put in jail. I don't know what they're going to do with him from there, but I hope they send him home. You don't need people like that in the world, man. We're out here running a modest business, barely scraping by. We're making good money, but just barely. We can't afford a $5,000 hit, and that's just guessing. I mean, it might be more than that. I have no idea the extent of the damage that he did. Fab Daddy says, Jake, what book other than the Bible did you read last? Well, I read into the book of Enoch a little bit, but I'm trying to think of the last actual book I read. You stop reading books for fun? I don't read books for fun. I don't read novels or anything like that. Mostly what I read is like technical manuals or history books, things like that. I'm into that sort of thing, but I don't read fantasy novels. I like Star Trek. That's the extent of my fantasy foray. Now, I can't really think of the last book I read other than the Bible. I know it's probably like the Green's Interlinear or something like that, but it's Bible related, I'm sure. That's a good question. Damn, stumped me right off the bat. Have you read any Ernest Holmes? I have not. Who is that? Fab Daddy says, I read YouTube chats for fun. Me too. As a matter of business and fun. But I do a lot of research, so I guess that would be classified as reading, but they're not necessarily in books. Sometimes it's in, like, you remember that microfilm stuff at the library? Sometimes it's in that format. Sometimes it's, old books looking for specific things, like encyclopedias, things like that. That's the kind of thing I read. I don't have like a nightstand with books on it. I do have a library, but it's all old books. What it is he wrote Sermon on the Mount. Okay, I'll check that out. He didn't write the Sermon on the Mount. He wrote a book about the Sermon on the Mount. Got it. Because if he wrote the Sermon on the Mount, that would mean he knew Jesus, and that would be weird. Interesting, but weird. It seems like I remember seeing a book with that title somewhere along the way, and I may have even read some of it, but I didn't know it was that guy. I've read stuff. I like to read stuff that Hunter S. Thompson wrote, and I like to read stuff that different authors of that ilk, like what's the guy that wrote? I'm sure I can't even think now. The Hemingway, that guy. Hemingway and the other guy that wrote the Knock on the Raven. I can't remember his name. Somebody can remember his name. College stuff. Things that you read in college. Would you like to time travel? Not particularly. If you listen to a book, says Fab Daddy, is it the same as reading it? I believe so. Fab Daddy says, I don't think so. I think it's the same thing. A lot of people are visual learners. A lot of people are audio learners. A lot of people are hands-on learners. It doesn't matter how you learn. It doesn't matter how the information goes in. If you hear the book, you are, in fact, taking in the knowledge of the book. So it doesn't matter if you physically read it or not, I don't think. But I guess some people would disagree with me. I think as long as you're getting it in there, that's all that matters. And there's a lot of people that just don't have time. And there's people that have dyslexia, and if they read for more than 5 minutes, they start getting a headache because they have to concentrate too hard, and then they don't actually get the information because they're too busy focusing on how to read. It's much easier just to listen to it. So that's okay with me. It's like learning to play the guitar. I don't care if you play it with your toes, as long as you make the right sound. There is no right way to grab a chord. Fab Daddy, what it is says, I learned watching porn, getting it in there. Okay. You're not going to do a lot of good watching porn. That's going to rot your brain and make it hard for you to have actual sexual encounters. But, you do you, boo. Fab Daddy says, I think audiobooks can influence one's imagination of the text. True. Well, anytime you can hear a personality delivering the lines, that automatically pushes you in a direction. And so if it's a good reader, they can illustrate the words in a way that you would like, and may be interesting and entertaining. However, if left to your own devices, it's limitless, because however your mind accepts whatever you're reading, that's the tone that it'll have. It might be a pirate, or it might be exciting, or it might be humdrum. It just depends on how you read it. So your imagination can't be beat. If someone else reads it, you're going to get their imagination. Whatever they want it to sound like, that's the way you're going to receive it. But if you read it, it's open-ended. However your mind takes it, that's how you'll get it. So in some ways, reading it yourself is better, because nothing beats the imagination. Even in movie making, that's what Alfred Hitchcock was so good at. One of the reasons he's one of the most favored directors of all times is because his big thing was not showing you what was there, right? He would insinuate it, he would imply it, he would hint at it, but never show it to you. So your imagination would have to fill in the gaps. That's the best movie in the world, because your imagination is unbeatable. All they can do is tickle your imagination. Bill says, I learned more from you reading the Bible. Thanks, Jake. It makes it easy to understand, and I love the way you explain it. Bill, thank you, and God bless you for that. I appreciate that. And if the Lord gives me the wisdom and ability to do so, it's my honor to bring it to you, and I'm glad that you can learn it that way. I'm not especially a good reader, for example. I try to read all the time, and I'm not very good at it. But for some reason, the Bible comes to me in a particular way, and I can deliver it in a particular way. People seem to like it, so thank you for that. Bill says, that's evil, Fab, LOL. I think he means influencing an imagination. The Bible does say to avoid vain imaginations. That's not to say not to use your imagination, just to avoid using your imagination in a way that it gets carried away with you. It's not a sin, but it is dangerous. If you don't know how to use your imagination, it can take over. Look at what's going on in the world today, for example. Everything you see out there is because somebody imagined something and other people believed it. That's called a mind virus, and that's what we're suffering through as we speak. That's a vain imagination. Fab Daddy says, I sin, Bill. We all sin, Fab Daddy. Nobody is shy of that. Nobody can escape it. What it is treating saints and sinners right. That's right. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Audio and sound effects in audiobooks is cool. Yeah, I think so too. And that also pushes your imagination into a particular avenue of thought. So whatever, say if they do some production, right, and it's got sound effects and it's got music and it's got cues where it will tell you where to feel, or the music will swell, or there'll be a jump scare sound or something like that. That's telling your imagination how to accept the information that's coming in, and it's a format. It's just like a movie. A movie has a format, a first act, second act, third act, and all the things that happen in each act. And all movies do that. It's exactly the same way for every movie. Well, books are the same way a lot. They have a first act, a middle, and an ending. Sometimes 2 acts. Well, you can picture it however you want to picture it. You can read it at whatever speed or whatever emotion you want to add to it, unless somebody's reading it to you and giving you the sounds, what they think is going on. So now you're hearing what they imagine, not what you imagine. So, I mean, that's just as good as watching a movie, but it's better if you do it. I think I explained that okay. Fab Daddy said, there is no good without evil. True. There is no evil without good either. The two are intertwined together. They're one and the same. You can't have one without the other. It's like white and black. Black exists because nothing is nothing. But if you have white, you have to have black first to get white, which is weird because you can't make white with black. But without it, you don't have colors. That's one you can think about. He said, tickle, hee. what it is. Getting saucy over there. Yes, tickle, tickle, tickle. Which is what I was doing when I got the phone call this morning that we had been burglarized. I would have rather stayed and be tickled, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Bill says, I do also. We all do sin, I think is what he's talking about. Was 70 Christians beheaded in the Congo this week? Really? I have not heard that, but if that wouldn't surprise me if it did happen. What it is says, I identify as a bump on a log in the bottom of the sea. There's a flea on the bump on the log in the bottom of the sea. You know that song? I identify as wildly successful, handsome, and rich. Jake. Fab Daddy says, what it is that a male or female bump? Yeah. You could ask that question. It'd be weird. Cosmo, what's up, buddy? My cousin's here from Georgia. Hello, Cosmo. How's the weather where you're at? Fab Daddy says, only 2 sexes. True. Only 2. 2 and 2. Amanda says, hi, Cosmo. Fab Daddy says, I'm too sexy for my shirt. Me too. Amanda says, know nothing, LOL. I know nothing. You know nothing? I wouldn't admit that. I know at least something. My mouth is so dry. Yeah. Amanda says, I identify as wild and crazy. Me too. I don't identify as anything. I just am. What it is all I know is I can only take on one thing at a time. The news seems to bombard me, overwhelming. Yes, the news is overwhelming, and it's that way intentionally. The news cycle is like 6 hours. Every 6 hours, they have to have a new cycle, a new thing, throwing it at you fast as they can go. And believe it or not, you can get fatigued. That's why CNN is in the crapper, because they have gone so far, so fast, they had to start making up stuff to keep up with their own news cycle. Oh, you know nothing about tickles. Got it. You're pleading the fifth. I understand. Fab Daddy says it's called the power switch. Turn it off. Yeah, it's true. You don't have to watch. I know we all have our faces stuck in that little demon square that we watch the world cave into in real time. But you can walk away from it. You can set it down and walk away. Go outside and touch some grass. Smell the roses while you're running with them in your hand. You know, that sort of thing. It's easy. But then you got to think, well, I wonder if I got any emails, or I wonder if somebody's visited my website, or I wonder if anybody liked that comment. That you got to put that down. That's what drives you insane. Don't believe me? Watch the news. You'll see a whole world of people who have been driven completely insane. It is overwhelming. Fab Daddy says I read that one. Cosmo says, I yawn. Oh, sorry. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. Are you a potato, a sweet potato? Fab Daddy says, where's olive oil? Need a pot-bellied, toothpick, armed and legged woman. A pot-bellied, toothpicked, armed and legged woman. I thought olive oil was gorgeous, except for her hairdo. Her hairdo mirrored her nose, and I didn't like that. But everything else about her was very modest. I like modest. Cosmo says, yeah. Her voice was a little annoying, though. I believe if I was a Popeye, I would strangle her to death. Oh, that'd be that. I'd eat me spinach. I used to love Popeye until I grew up and watched it and realized that what I was watching was a very rapey cartoon with a very, very strong toxic masculine bend. You ever watch Popeye really as an adult? It is kind of rapey. So is Pepe Le Pew. Like, easy, fella. Jesus. She said no. God. What it is says, let's go to the tiki lounge and have a fruity drink. Amen. I'm with you. I'll have a Cosmo. A Cosmo? Cosmo says, my great uncle's wife on my mama's side looked and dressed just like Olive Oyl. Really? Interesting. I've never met anybody that looked like Olive Oyl. Very, very, very skinny. And what's the deal with the baby? Is the baby psychic? I never did figure that out. The baby whistles and then things happen. But it seems to know what's going on. You tell me. What? Go out and touch some ass? Well, I mean, as long as you're out there, I guess. I'd get permission if I were you, but that is an option. Go touch some ass. I'd say grass, but, you know, you can drop the GR if you want to. Bill says, I don't remember a baby, LOL. Yeah, there was a baby called Sweet Pea. And it got in a lot of mischief over the cartoon's life. The baby never grew. It was always a baby. And I'm not really sure who it belonged to. The movie suggests that they found the baby, but the movie isn't part of the cartoon. It's kind of its own thing. And it was like a one-off. Go figure. But according to the cartoon, I think everybody there's related, like Wimpy and Popeye and Olive Oyl. They're all kind of related. I think Wimpy is like Olive Oyl's dad or uncle or something like that, or grandpa maybe. There's a grandpa character too with a beard and snaggletooth, and then there's the baby, and then there's Pluto, who is not related, but he wants to be, and he's not going to take no for an answer, apparently. And then he's got 2 or 3 henchmen, and that's about all I remember about the cartoon. Might be 1 or 2 characters floating in and out that I seem to remember, but I'm not real sure about it. Walter Davis is here. Good evening, all. What's up, Walter? How you doing? How's Linda? Bill says, I remember the baby now. Fab Daddy says, Popeye's nephews. Yep, there were nephews in there. I don't remember Popeye having a dad. The movie suggested he had a dad, but I try not to look at the movie when I'm thinking about the cartoon because they're not the same thing. Maybe not even the same universe, just based on the same characters. Was that a Jerry Bruckheimer movie? I can't remember who. I know Robert Williams played in it. It was his first big role, but I was thinking it was one of those big directors like Bruckheimer or it wasn't Ridley Scott, obviously, but it was one of those guys made that movie. It was a pretty good movie. It was not in the right time, I think. They tried to make it a musical, and the guy that made it didn't know anything about musicals, so it came off a little bit weird. Like, the musicals were fine, but they didn't make any sense. They didn't fit the story very well, because he doesn't know how to write musicals. Why they made that decision, I don't know. I think Disney gave them some money, so they decided to make it a musical, but I think it just came out at the wrong time, because it's not a terrible movie. It's all right for the 80s. I've seen worse, for real. Walter says, hey, Jake, Bill, what it is, Fab Daddy, Amanda, Cosmo Kramer. Amanda says, hi, Walter. What it says, if you buy me a hamburger today, I will pay you back on Tuesday. The quote is, I will gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. That would be Wimpy. I like that guy. I identify with that guy. Cosmo says, I like Hong Kong Phooey and Captain Caveman. Those are good cartoons. Hong Kong Phooey. That would be considered racist today, and they'd never make that cartoon. Or Speedy Gonzalez wouldn't be made today. Pepe Le Pew wouldn't be made today. I don't know. People don't seem to mind making fun of the French. Maybe Pepe Le Pew, but none of the rest of them. Hong Kong Fooey. Cosmo says, hi, Walter. Fab Daddy says, it was a flop. The movie? Yeah, it didn't land very well. But what I'm saying is, as watching it, it's not that terrible of a movie. It actually has some good qualities about it. It's a good performance by Robin Williams. I really wish it would have been made at a different time or had better advertising or something. I don't know what could have saved it, but I mean, it wasn't because of lack of money. They had plenty of money. They built that entire town, and it's still there to this day in whatever little sea village they built it in. I can't remember now, but it's overseas somewhere. Bill says, Popeye the Sailor Man. Toot, toot. I can't keep my cigarette lit. Fab Daddy says it wasn't good. It wasn't great. It was good. It wasn't great. I've seen better movies. But what I'm saying is it wasn't terrible. It was not a terrible movie. I could introduce you to some terrible movies, and that wasn't one of them. What about Fat Albert says what it is? Hey, 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 hey. It's Fat Albert. Hey, 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 hey. OBKB. I remember that guy. Oh, my chat jumped. Here we go. Amanda says Robert Altman did Popeye. Robert Altman, okay. What else did he do? Do you know any other movies that he did? Because he's up there. He's one of those guys. Patty says, hello, I'm here. Hey, Patty. How are you, sweetie? Welcome to the show. Amanda says hi. What it is says Hollywood is weird. Yep. They don't call it Hollyweird for nothing. Walter says, I like spinach as a kid because of Popeye. I did not like spinach as a kid, and I don't like spinach as an adult. I can eat raw spinach like in a salad. As soon as you cook it, it's off limits. I can't take it. It's horrible. Patty says, hey, Miss Amanda. And Rachel's here. She says, hi. Hey, Rachel. How are you, sweetie? Nice to see you. Hope you guys are staying warm. It is rather cold all over the United States. Walter says, hi, Patty. Amanda says, hi, Rachel. And what it is says, what about Mr. Magoo? Mr. Magoo was a good cartoon. What was the name of that dog that rode the elevator? Gary, yep. Remember that guy? I love those cartoons. And the penguin. The penguin is like the Get Smart character. Rachel says, it ain't that sunny in North Carolina. Or are you in Miami with that outfit? Well, this outfit is definitely Miami Vice, but it's just a shirt and a pair of sunglasses. And I'm wearing my jewelry because of what I said earlier, because it's an honor thing for my sister's dad. And also, I just felt like being freaky tonight. If it's bothering you, though, I'll take them off. They're just here for decorations. What it is what about Fat Albert? I read that one. Hey, hey, hey. Rachel says, it's a nice style and fit on you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I like this shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. It's dragons all over it. I got two of them. I got a red one with black dragons and a black one with red dragons. This one's the black one with the red dragons. Amanda says, LOL, Rachel. Yeah, I can pull it off. Most people can't pull off this dress, but I can. It's the mustache. Bill says, I like Fraggle Rock. Down in Fraggle Rock. Yes, I did too as a kid. It's a great show. I loved anything Jim Henson. When Jim Henson actually ran the company, he did fantastic work. Now, when he died, his son took over, and the company took a nosedive. In fact, the last thing they made was that show Farscape for Sci-Fi Channel. And it was okay, a little weird, but it was okay. But that guy, his son, just didn't have what he had. It just wasn't the same. All the same people still work there. It just missed Jim Henson. Jim Henson was the visionary that made all that work. I missed that guy. He made some interesting stuff. I would have loved to see what he could do in the modern day with the modern technology. I would love to have seen what he did with that. Fraggle Rock. OTS corny now. Oh, it's corny now. It's not corny. It's just innocent. Walter says, hi, Rachel. Rachel says, hey, 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 it's Fat Albert. I like that show, but I like the show with the alley cats. There was a show that came on. There was 3 alley cats, and they lived in a junk airplane that was in a junkyard at the top of a junk heap. You guys remember that cartoon? I have no idea what it was called, but I did like that cartoon. That was right around the time of Darkwing Duck and all that was coming out. DuckTales. Fab Daddy says, hey, Rachel, I missed you. Aw. Rachel says, hey, Fab Daddy. Hang on, my chat jumped again. Rachel says, ugh, Daddy, I missed you. Daddy. Aw, you guys are so cute. John H. is here. What's up, buddy? He says, hi, all. I loved watching Magic Roundabout. Magic Roundabout. I don't know that I've seen that one. That must be a British thing. But you guys remember the puppet named Phyllis? It's a woman with a big nose, and she was on like some kind of variety show, like Solid Gold Saturday Night, I think was the name of it, something like that. Do you guys remember the puppet in the 70s? And she did a few spots on Mr. Rogers, but I think that may be where she came from, but she went and did her own thing later. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. I might be too old. It was one of those weird in-between things. It was like in between Mr. Rogers and Pee Wee Herman. The little puppet show was in there. Cosmo says, Mr. Magoo, Mr. Howell, Gilligan's Island. Is that who played Mr. Magoo? Howell? I did not know that. Walter says, my dad had a sailboat with a hatch like the original Popeye intro. Cool. Did he go when he came out of it? Dakota's here. Hey, Dakota, what's up, buddy? Nice to see you. Come on in. Welcome to Miami Vice. I'm your host, Crockett. I think that was his name. I can't remember. Fab Daddy says, I think he made Blue Lagoon. Okay. Blue Lagoon was an interesting movie. It was a very promiscuous, blonde, teenager-y type movie. And maybe the first softcore porn movie that we ever got. Might be. I don't know. It's up there. It might not be the first, but it's right there with the first. Amanda says, hi, John. And Dakota. And Dakota says, hey, Amanda. Walter says, hi, John and Dakota. And Fab Daddy says, Droopy. Droopy was the dog that rode the elevator, right? Okay. What about the other guy? Exit, stage left, heavens to Murgatroyds. Remember that guy? Rachel says, Jake, I am the state above you. We have the same weather almost. 28 degrees Fahrenheit here with a low of 23. That's about what we are. Yes, ma'am. It was a general statement. How's the weather? How you doing? Are you staying warm? I didn't mean literally. I know about how the weather is. It's cold. My little toes are freezing. Dakota says, hey, Walter. And Rachel says, oh, Droopy, Huckleberry Finn. You got it. That's the one. Dakota says, hi, Rachel. And Rachel says, oh, my bad. I wasn't here when you said that. Wait, you said your sister's dad. Yeah, my sister's dad We're half siblings. We have the same mother, different fathers. He was also a musician, no relation. And he was like the Elvis impersonator type. He didn't impersonate Elvis, but he wanted to be Elvis really bad. So he did all the Elvis type stuff and had all the Elvis type guitars and did that kind of doo-woppy 60s type music. That was his thing. But he passed away recently, and she got all of his belongings, and along with it came a lot of jewelry and a lot of guitars and things like that, some of which made it to me because I do the same thing he did, and in honor of him, I wear his stuff. So this is all his stuff. It's not my stuff. I can't afford stuff like that. So, but, you know, the sunglasses are mine. I wear these on stage most of the time because they're light and I can see through them in the dark. Colin Hill says, hey, Jake, what's up, Colin? Good to see you, buddy. You staying warm, staying busy, making that money. Fab Daddy says, Droopy was the original Debbie Downer. Yes, he was. Going up. He was a little badass, though. You did not want to make him mad when you were in his elevator. Half sister Rachel. But we don't claim the half thing. We just brother and sister. So in a way, I'm almost an only child. I'm half an only child. Walter says, I'm still at the farm tonight, and it's closer to the boat. I'm checking tomorrow. Okay. Well, maybe she'll pop in tonight and say hello. Hope she's doing all right. Amanda says, Robert did MASH. Robert Altman did MASH. All right, you guys remember the MASH TV show? Well, there was a movie before the TV show. That's what inspired the TV show, and a lot of people don't know that. And all the characters were played by A-list actors like Robert Duvall and Robert Redford and people like that were in that movie. But it was a good movie. But the TV show was better, I think. But Robert Altman did that, and he did Popeye, and he did some other stuff too. Such as The Long Goodbye, Shortcuts, Nashville, Brewster's McCloud, Robin Williams, and lots more. McCloud was a good movie, or TV show, rather. Walter Davis says, be home tomorrow night. Well, I'm sure you're ready for it. What it is says, you look like a 70s porn star. Thank you. Bouch. Wow, wow. I make that face. Amanda says, hi, Colin. I've acted like a 70s porn star a few times in my life, too, but, you know, I'm trying to be a good boy now. Amanda says, LOL, what it is. And Walter says, hey, Colin. Cosmo says, the Muppet Show was awesome, especially the two old men in the balcony. Yes, I like those guys. The movie critics, they were nice. But my favorite was the Gonzo character, you know the one, the blue one. I like that guy. You'd think I'd like Fozzie or Animal, but no, I liked Gonzo. Waka, waka, waka. What it is what about Sigmund on the Monsters? The Monsters. Oh, sorry, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. I don't know who that is. There's Linda. Hi, Linda. We were just talking about you. She says, happy Friday night, everybody. Heart. Hi, Linda. Good to see you. Hope you're staying warm. Walter says hello. Amanda says, hi, Linda. Top Cat. Yes. I hear you, Rachel. I like Top Cat. Walter says, how about HR Puffin Stuff? Riders on Acid. Yeah. Puff the Magic Dragon was a true story. Fab Daddy says, hi, Linda, Walter, Colin, and Cosmo. Hang on, my chat jumped again. I don't know where I'm at. I found it. John says, Top Cat. Nice. I love Top Cat, says Rachel Floyd. It's a good one. Amanda says, they were called alley cats. Yeah, but I don't remember the name of the cartoon, the one where the three cats lived in the plane that was in a junkyard on the top of a junk heap, and they would go, like, investigate it, things like that. It's kind of a cross between Sherlock Holmes and DuckTales and all those kind of cartoons all mixed in together. There's a little bit of an off-brand cartoon, but I liked it. Those characters might have even come out of Garfield. That might be the origin of those characters. I'm not sure entirely. Walter Davis says, hi, Linda. Cosmo says, hi, Fab Daddy. Fab Daddy says, Fat Daddy is my sock account. Your sock has an account? What are you doing with your sock there, Fab Daddy? Rachel says, Cosmo, it's a Fab Daddy, not a Fat Daddy. I think it was just a typo. It's a Fab Daddy. Cosmo says, yes. Walter Davis says, I kind of remember that. Fran and Ollie. I like Fran and Ollie. Rachel says, if anyone is going to offend Fab, it'll be me. You hear that, boys and girls? Rachel has designs on Fab Daddy. Get him. Fab Daddy says, vile. It's evil, like the fruits of the devil. It's evil. I like it. John says, Magic Roundabout had undertones of drugs and hippies. So did Scooby-Doo, and so did Winnie the Pooh, and for that matter, every other cartoon I could think of. They all were telling stories that were way too adult for the kids watching them, only they didn't know how to read between the lines. You go watch old Tom and Jerry cartoons, which were my personal favorite. I love Tom and Jerry, and I love the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. But most of those cartoons have very adult undertones. Yes, in case you're wondering. Rachel says, Fab, I defend you, and I didn't even thank, and you didn't even thank me. I defended you, and you didn't even say thank you. Amanda says, Scooby-Doo is a bunch of potheads and a drug dealers. Well, one's a drug dealer. Fred's a drug dealer. The rest of them are following Fred around to get their fix. Daphne and Velma are chicken heads and lesbians. And Shaggy is a pothead who has smoked so much pot and ate so many edibles that he's starting to hallucinate. And his dog is a dog who he thinks talks to him. Drug dealers. Winnie the Pooh. Christopher Robbins is a drug dealer. Winnie the Pooh is a pothead. Haha, no pun intended. Go ahead on. Just figure it out. They're all about drugs and sex. All cartoons. Watch Disney as an adult. Any Disney movie. Any Disney cartoon like Cinderella or like Snow White or any of those. Just watch any of them. Just think while you're watching them as an adult would think. And ask yourself if the situations that I'm watching fit for a child. Like, what's the one with the mermaid? Can't think of it. Ariel, the mermaid. Little Mermaid. This is a 12-year-old child who gives up her tail for a boy. Anybody? Is this thing on? Snow White moves in with a bunch of trailer trash guys, little Mexicans. And then she gets drugged by an old woman and then date raped by a prince. I'm not sure that Disney was also good for the kids. I think he had ulterior motives. I could be wrong. I'm saying that Club 33 is probably not a place you want to end up when you go to Disney World. If you're under 18, it's you're probably the entertainment. I'm just saying. Epstein got it from somewhere. Walter says, the boat my father had ran liquor for Jack Kennedy Sr. during Prohibition. A boat with a lot to tell. It sounds like it. Sounds like you have quite the story there. I'd write a book about that. Fab Daddy says, I am trying not to gag. What are you talking about, Fab Daddy? Why are you trying not to gag? Do you have something in your throat? If so, pull it out. Pull back a little. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this conversation anymore. Amanda says, well, take it out, Fab. Right on. Linda says, hi, Amanda, Fab, and Walter. Oh, fine. Don't say hi to me. I see how you are. Cosmo says, what's the first movie that everyone ever saw in the theater? Mine was Gator, or Burt Reynolds at the drive-in. The first movie I ever saw doesn't count because it broke 5 minutes in. And then a year later, we went back to see it again, and it broke 10 minutes in. And so it was the 80s before I ever got to see the movie, but the movie was E.T., and we tried to see it twice, and it broke twice. That's Sandersville for you. Fab Daddy says, why do they call it a frog in the throat? Ribbit. What idiot placed a frog down his throat first? Well, it's called a frog in your throat because you sound froggy when you talk, and they got that from Miss Piggy, who had often had a frog in her throat. That sounded like I knew what I was saying, didn't it? Fab Daddy says, wow, Walter, very interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a great story. I'd love to read about it. Rachel says, Scooby-Doo is amazing. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Got to have some fun now. Yep, I liked Scooby-Doo back in the day. But I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but they had to change the theme song to Scooby-Doo because they ran out of copyright. And now it doesn't have the old Scooby-Doo song anymore. Now it's something else. Just ruined the whole vibe of the cartoon, if you ask me. They did that with Andy Griffith, too. They don't do They don't do that anymore. Amanda says, yes, Rachel, I love Scooby-Doo. He is my notification sound. Yes, I hear that stupid dog 50,000 times a day. Over and over and over again. Rachel says, Lamau, Amanda, I love that. She does too. I want to strangle it. Patty says, did anyone see Elon last night speaking at PAC? I did not. The last time I saw him speaking, he was in the White House next to Trump in the Oval Office. That's the last time I saw him speak. But I got to go check that out. Was it any good? Did he say anything new? Is there any information that we don't have? And what about this Epstein list that's supposed to be coming out the day after Kash Patel was sworn in? Does anybody hear anything about that yet? Because I haven't. Fab Daddy says, Rachel, did you make me a sandwich tonight? I am. Getting right to it, are you, Fab? Get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. I want a sandwich. I had spaghetti and garlic bread tonight. It was delicious. Good spaghetti. Amanda says, Jake does Scooby pretty good. When I can. I can't do it right now. My voice is a little scratchy, but I can do it sometimes. Fab Daddy says, I need my Scooby snacks. Well, when you smoke a lot of pot, that's what happens. You get the munchies, as is the cartoon. Every time they go to a haunted mansion, they're more interested in finding a place to make a sandwich. Am I wrong? Because they got the munchies. Walter says, Patty, I watched a short of Elon at CPAC. Pretty good. Well, if it's good, I want to check it out. I'll probably watch it tonight after the show. I've been trying to keep up with the press briefings and anything new that comes out. They're kind of going so fast, it's hard to keep up with them. Trump's only been in office for a month, and it feels like 4 years has already passed by. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of executive orders and just something new every day. People are losing their damn minds on the left about it. Amanda says, that face, though, Jake, shaking my head. You need to stop. What face? This one? I don't know. What are you talking about? Linda says, we had a 2-hour delay again today for schools, so I had 6 kids between 4 and 13 to get off this morning, and then again after school, so I am just sitting in for the night. Jesus. Just settling in for the night. Jesus, you have been busy. 6 kids. It was all I could do to put 2 on the bus. I know you had a hard day. Is the delay because of the weather? Because I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I drove in it this morning. It was fine. I did hydroplane once on some black ice, but I didn't lose control, so I don't see what 2 hours would have made a difference. I don't know why they do that. I guess because it's a little warmer 2 hours later. I don't know. Around here, if it rains hard, they shut the schools down. It's the funniest thing I ever seen. When I was a kid, you could have snow up to your neck. You're going to school, and chances are you're walking. Get a jacket. They don't do that anymore. Now, if it gets any kind of weather around here, if the temperature drops below a certain degrees, they just shut everything down. I went to the dollar store yesterday, and it was closed. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They closed because of the weather. There was less than an inch of ice on the ground, and they closed because of the weather, and so did a few gas stations. Makes no sense to me. It's not like they've never seen snow before. Patty says, I was nervous watching Walter. Why? The Cadillac Cats, says Amanda. I don't know. That sounds kind of right. I'm not sure. A what? Catalytic cat. Well, that's not what that says. That says Cadillac cat. Cadillac cat. Am I the only one seeing that? Cat. Ill. Ack. Catalytic? Is that what you're saying? That doesn't sound right. Okay. Looks like Cadillac cat to me. Sounds better, too. Cosmo says, typo, definitely. ℂ𝕚𝕝, sorry. That's all right. What are you sorry about? I don't even remember the last thing you wrote. Walter says, remember the old WW2 cartoons like when Woody Woodpecker was frightening German fighters and would turn into a P-40 when he would attack? I remember a few war-themed cartoons like Bugs Bunny. It was like they were being patriotic, overly patriotic. Like they shoved in the war theme into the cartoon for a period of time. But I don't remember too many of them because I was very young at that time. But I do remember seeing that. Walter says, Bugs Bunny would make a fool out of the Nazis. Yep, that's the one I remember. It's Bugs Bunny. Walter says, and they all made fun of the Japanese. But I will tell you one thing, though. Pre-war, cartoons were way better than after the war. If you go back and watch, like, the Fleischer era of cartoons, there's a guy named Fleischer, and he signed at the beginning of all the cartoons. Go back and watch those, like, 1930s, 1928, 29, 30 cartoons. They're three-dimensional. They're well hand-drawn. They got good scores. There's real talent in the voices, and there's writing. They're really good. Like, they're way better than anything that was in the 60s, you know. I don't know what happened after the war. I guess everybody was just broke, and so they couldn't spend as much money or as much time on things. But cartoons were way better. Now, granted, they were in black and white, so the technology wasn't there, but the talent was there. And you compare that to anything that came afterward, and it just doesn't even compare. Old cartoons are way better than new ones. Cosmo says, the keys on my phone are tiny, Fab Daddy. Oh, Fat Daddy was the typo. Got it. Now I remember. Mr. P, what's up, John? He says, hi, all. Nice to see you, John. How are you? Stay a little while tonight? Fab Daddy says, okay, cuz. Amanda says, hi, Mr. P. Walter says, hey, Mr. P. Amanda says, you leave Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore out of it. I can't. They're the original. Eeyore is hopped up on so many downers. It's amazing he can even show up for the cartoon. He's just out of it, man. Tigger's bouncing all over the place, all hopped up on meth. Think about it. Winnie the Pooh is the original, this ain't really what we're saying cartoon. What it is says, watch the movie Heavy Metal. I've seen it. I like Heavy Metal. That's a good cartoon. A good group of cartoons. It's not one cartoon. It's like, I think it's like 3 or 4 short stories to make one movie. Short films to make one movie. And they're actually pretty good. And they're based on a French comic book of a similar name, a graphic novel, rather, that was very popular in the 60s and 70s. Obviously, I can't remember the name of it. Like everything else is out of my brain, but it wouldn't take you much to find it. And it's very good. Those comics were very good back in the day and very risque. They were one of the first comics to feature full nudity and be classified as a comic book. Walter says, Amanda, Piglet is a freak. Sorry. Piglet is a freak. And on acid. Walter says, Heavy Metal was awesome. Yes, it was. I actually enjoyed it. And also, there's other TV shows that have came out in that vein, such as Aeon Flux on MTV. That was a good one. A little weird, but a very good. That's back when anime could have actually been something I would be into. But then it all changed into this Japanese art style anime that they have now, and I just ain't into it. But back then, they were making some pretty interesting cartoons. If you hadn't seen Aeon Flux, I recommend it. Not the movie, the cartoon. The movie kind of sucks. But the movie did inspire the movie Ultraviolet, which is a good movie. So check that one out. Also based on a cartoon. Amanda says, LOL, Walter, so is Eeyore. He always looking for tail. He's always looking for his tail. There's a difference. His tail is missing. That's not the same as looking for tail, which is the other thing that I was talking about that I can't remember now, but it was a good joke when I said it. It's not so good when you repeated it. Walter says Space Mountain the movie. What it is says Space Mountain the movie. Space Mountain. Space Mountain or Witch Mountain? I don't know if I've seen Space Mountain. I think you're talking about Witch Mountain. That's a good movie. If Space Mountain is not the same, I need to know so I can go look it up and see if I missed anything. Walter says, Amanda, LOL. Eeyore was into depressants. Antidepressants. Yes. What it is chill dog choking. Chili dog choking? I don't know what that is. Is that a movie? TV show? Are you asking me? Are you asking for a friend? What's going on? Chili dog choking. Is that how you get a frog in your throat? I could tell you some stories. Not fit for YouTube, though. Anyway. Mr. P says, I'm not sure what that is. I really didn't dolt. Ariel didn't do it for the boy alone. She did it for herself, too. There is a difference between today's female and 50s and 60 years ago, what Little Mermaid was thought of, when Little Mermaid was thought of. This is true. However, the subtext is there, which is what I was referring to. I know that the script doesn't say that she did it for that reason, or that she did it for herself or for her empowerment or whatever. But if you look at the subtext of the show, that's what we're talking about. And all Disney cartoons have a subtext that is opposite of what they're saying out loud. It's very, like Aladdin, for example. Think about that one. Amanda says, LOL, Walter. Well, it's always more fun when you're not alone. I'm just saying. What's always more fun when you're not alone? Watching Eeyore? Or are you guys talking about something I didn't pick up on? What it is there was Froggy in The Little Rascals. Oh, yeah. I remember that guy. He talked like this. I remember that guy. Most people don't even remember The Little Rascals. And if they do, they just remember the name. Some of us actually watched that show. Or at least reruns of it. It's a little confusing because in my time when I grew up, a lot of the shows that were on TV were reruns of the original air, which came on 20 years prior. Like The Little Rascals and Mel's Diner and MASH, which was not a rerun, but it was based on a movie that came out in the 70s. And then there was, what else? I Love Lucy was on TV a lot. Star Trek was on TV a lot. All these shows were in syndication, but they aired 20 years prior. So it's like I grew up watching them, but not the first run of them. My mom grew up watching the first run of them. It's kind of weird. Syndication, a way to screw up a generation. Make them feel old. Walter says, the first movie I saw in a theater was The Great Walfo Pepper? The Great Walfo Pepper? I don't know what that is. Because I read the book. The second was Jaws. Jaws was a great movie to see in theaters. Very good movie. Fritz the Cat. I remember that guy. Is a crazy early 70s adult animation classic. Yes, I remember Fritz the Cat. And the remember the cat that was kind of like Sylvester, but it wasn't Sylvester. It was like a alley cat that was real tough, get beat up all the time. It was a black cat. I can't remember, but it was the predecessor to Sylvester the cat. Sylvester was based on this cat, and it might have been Top Cat. I'm not sure. Mr. P says, I sort of recall watching that with my mother, Walter, the Walfo Pepper. I've never seen that one. Who was in it? Walter says, the very first at a drive-in was The Legend of Bogey Creek, but I didn't see much from the back seat. Right on. I started watching drive-in movies in the 80s. That was like an after thing for us. I wasn't there when they were popular. I was there as they were going out of style. But there were some great grindhouse movies. They would show like weird movies that they wouldn't show in theaters. They'd show at the drive-in. Stuff that didn't meet the upper echelon of movies, I guess. But you'd see some great stuff. I miss those days. Fab Daddy says, Fritz the Cat is a crazy early's. I read that one. Here we go. Amanda says, no list that I've seen yet about Epstein. Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but they have been talking about it, and he has promised to release that information as soon as he gets in office, so we'll see. The thing that I saw said he was going to release it in one day. That's today, and I haven't heard anything. But Kash Patel is the FBI director now. Go Kash. What a great name that guy has. Cosmo says, Trump ruined the mayor of Maine's career in just a few moments. It was delightful. I'd like to see that. I love it when Trump is right. Hang on. Sambo. I remember that cartoon. What the heck? Yeah, I'm 5 minutes behind, Fab Daddy. Oh, here we go. What it is says, Elon had a damn chainsaw in his hand, trimming the fat. That sounds like something Elon would do. Awesome. Cosmo says, governor, not mayor. The governor of Maine. I'll check it out. Amy Elizabeth is here. She says, evening. Hey, Amy, how are you? Hope you're doing well and staying warm. You got those feetsies bundled up? Walter says, hi, Amy. Amanda says, hi, Amy. Fab Daddy says, Amy. And Amanda says, your porn sex face. Oh, yeah. Oh, Batshit Crazy hit me with a $1 super chat. Thank you, Batshit Crazy. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir? Come on in. I'm trying to like your thing. It won't let me do it. I'll get it in a minute. Thank you for the super chat, Batshit. I appreciate it. Walter says, but the economy hasn't adjusted to Trump yet. It will be great of a disaster soon. It takes time for that to happen. It's not something he can just fix overnight. So all these things have to trickle down from the stuff that he's causing to happen. And I think probably a year in, we'll start to see some evidence of the economy bouncing back. I don't really know how long it'll take, but I fully expect to see in the very near future prices drastically dropping. I mean, they're saving billions of dollars with Doge. What it is says, Maxine Waters, that woman needs to sit on her porch in her rocking chair and watch traffic go by. Amen to that. That woman is slimy, to say the least. Mr. P says, I saw Fritz the Cat. It's wild what that cat does and says. Yeah, I miss cartoons like that. I wish they'd make more. Cosmo says, Trump said it will take a while before it gets better. Patience, right? I think it will. I mean, he's got a lot to fix. Biden and them screwed up a whole lot of stuff and tried to make it permanent. I mean, that last few days that he was in office, he was really causing some trouble. Mr. P says, not to promote, it's perverted. Oh, Fritz the Cat is? Yeah, well, you know, that's what people were into back in the day. Amy says, school delays are so that roads are safer for the buses, rural roads get treated last. I agree. And that makes sense. Linda says, I had to drive them all to 3 different schools, and we had snow and ice, and it was only 10 degrees this morning. Wow. I know it was cold, but I didn't know it was that cold. Walter says, what it is, Maxine should have never been born. She supports abortion and should have been one. Oof. I don't know about all that. I don't know anything about her. I just know that I don't like what I've heard her say. Fab Daddy says, we got Jake 5 minutes behind. Well, I'm getting there. I'm picking up speed pretty fast. Mr. P says, been real cold lately, Linda. Heater has been on nonstop while I'm home. Mine too. Full blast. Shall we push for 10, says Fab Daddy? Nah, I'll get there. Mr. P says, you're up in the North Pennsylvania, aren't you, Linda? You're up in North Pennsylvania, aren't you, Linda? Asks John. Somewhere up there. Fab Daddy says, don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. That's right. Hit that like button. There are 17 people in chat and only 9 likes. That means a bunch of you hadn't hit that like button yet. Come on now. I'm working hard for you. Least you can do is just tap that button. It's free. Amanda says, LOL, Fab. We've been here all night. Or we'd be here all night. Oh, if I keep indulging in the chat, yeah, we'll be here all night. I'm going to cut out around 10 o'clock, though. I'm not going to push it too far. Linda says, sure has here, too, been cold. We're going through a coal and propane quickly. I couldn't imagine having to heat my house with coal or propane. That's rough. I know that gets expensive, too, doesn't it? Amy Elizabeth says, cartoons also helped introduce children to classical music and jazz. True. This is true. And there's a lot of, especially in the old cartoons like Roadrunner and Coyote and Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, all those cartoons, the Warner Brothers cartoons, there was a lot of wisdom being imparted to the children in there too, in the guise of stupidity and violence, which if you watch today under today's mentality with the woke stuff and the political correctness, you would look at that cartoon and say, this is uber violent. Well, I would never let my child watch this. But if you take it in context with the world we lived in, there's a lot of wisdom in those cartoons, a lot of warnings and a lot of character builder type stuff that people need. And I really miss those cartoons. In my opinion, they're way better than the garbage on Cartoon Network. Walter says, anyone remember Little Black Sambo? I remember Sambo. A cartoon promoting mayonnaise. Well, there was a few things. Do you remember the 2 crows? Heckle and Jekyll? I think that was their name. I like those guys too. Amy says, Winnie the Pooh and Attila the Hun have the same middle name. And so does Jimmy the Fish, Johnny the Fig. And Howard the Duck. Fab Daddy says, I went to the restaurant Sambo's. I love the placemats. Right on. Seems like I remember a Sambo's restaurant, but I don't think I've ever been to one. And Bill Bennett says, oh, Eeyore. He was lazy, LOL. He was lazy. He was hopped up on antidepressants, mood stabilizers. He just wanted to find his tail. Fab Daddy says, Sambo's taught me racism. Did it? That's a weird place to find racism. So, what do you go for? Formula One or NASCAR? You tell me. If you're going to be a racist, you got to go all the way, buddy. Go NASCAR. That's the way to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. all the way. Amy Elizabeth says, Tales from the Crypt. That's a good show. Tales from the Crypt is a spinoff from the original Creep Show. Remember Creep Show? That was a strange set of short stories there. Creep Show 1 and 2. Which are all based on the Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits. And if you go back and watch Twilight Zone, the original, the first run of it, a lot of those writers that wrote in Twilight Zone were the same ones that wrote the original Star Trek. They kind of transitioned over into the Twilight Zone. And so there are some very good original Twilight Zone episodes. I haven't watched the new Twilight Zone, but I did watch the remake in the 80s, and it was okay, but it wasn't as good as the original or as creepy. I suspect the new one's probably just woke nonsense because it was done by Key and Peele. And I don't think they're very funny. Amanda says, LOL, Bill. Yes, Eeyore was lazy and hopped up on antidepressants and mood stabilizers. Prozac Pro is who Eeyore was. Mr. P says, yep, I can't wait till I can stop sweating the $300 monthly gas bills. It's crazy. I don't want to have to pay something like that. I'll just use an electric heater in one room. I can't be in every room in the house, so there ain't no sense in heating all of it. I'll just heat the room I'm in. It's good enough. John says, I remember Betty Boop in black and white. Boop, boop, be doop, boop. Yep, me too. I like Betty Boop. I have an affinity, a fascination, really, with flappers. Anybody know what a flapper is? Flappers were DTF all the way. They were great girls. Good sports, as they would call them in those days. And some of them were very pretty. Go back and watch some of those 20s, rip-roaring 20s movies. You'll see what I'm talking about. They don't make girls like that anymore. For sure. Walter says, Betty Boop was great. Wanna be a member? Wanna be a member? You guys ever see that cartoon on my channel? That's a Betty Boop cartoon. Amy says, Chilly Willy and the Penguin. That's a good one. What about Marvin the Martian? You guys remember that guy? Take me to your leader. Linda says, Mr. P, Walter, and I were just talking about how happy we are that it's only costing us about $100 a week to heat the house. Woo. If we were just using oil, it would be more than twice that. That's crazy. Crazy. Amy Elizabeth says, Ariel gets legs. Then ZZ Top. She got legs. She knows how to use them. She got legs. Linda Davis says, everything is more fun when you're not alone. True. Very true. Buckwheat says, Ote. Bill Bennett, who is repeating Eddie Murphy from Saturday Night Live. Ote. Fab Daddy says, the hottest cartoon is Jessica Rabbit. You will never change my mind. I wouldn't try. She's definitely a gorgeous cartoon. However, have you ever seen Ghost in the Machine? Check it out if you haven't. If you like hot cartoons. Amanda says, right, Linda? It's all fun when you have a partner. Conserve water. Shower with a friend. Chevy Chase. Amanda says, LOL, Fab. Howard the Duck. Right on. I like Howard the Duck. But he's not hotter than Jessica Rabbit. I don't think you got the gist of what he was saying there. Howard the Duck is a great movie.
Jessica Rabbit played on Howard the Duck.
Jessica Rabbit did not play on Howard the Duck. Jessica Rabbit played on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a spinoff of the movie Cool World, which did not do very well. But Cool World was actually the first cartoon, real live animation, real live acting and animation mixed movie to exist. Cool World with Brad Pitt. And it kind of bombed. It wasn't very good. It was a little weird. But then they got together and made Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that was a box office smash. It was a great movie, starring, I can't remember the guy's name, but he played Mario in the Mario Brothers. Well, a little short guy, I can't remember his name. Anyway, that has nothing to do with Howard the Duck, which is a Marvel property, the first Marvel movie, actually. Only they didn't know they were making Marvel movies at that time, so it kind of went under the Disney George Lucas umbrella. But it was the first Marvel movie, interestingly enough. Chris Pratt? No, the other Mario, the original Mario Brothers movie. Not Chris Pratt. He's a British guy. He's a very popular actor. Bob Hoskins, that's the guy's name. Could not think of his name to save my life. Bob Hoskins has been in a lot of great movies. Mario Brothers was not one of them. I don't know how they talked him into doing that. He must have owed him a favor or something, but most people don't even know there's an original Mario Brothers movie, but there was, and it was done by the people who owned the Canon Films company that went under, that made all those movies like Masters of the Universe, and they did a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and Jean-Claude Van Damme movies back in the day. But they were like a assembly line movie company. They just made quick movies real fast and real cheap and real dirty, and they went under because they spent money like cokeheads, because they were cokeheads. But Canon made a lot of good movies. Mario Brothers was not one of them. Walter says, some of us were inspired by the Little Rascals and the Dukes of Hazzard. Rock on. Now, I grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard. That is a great show. Also based on a movie called Moonrunners from the 70s. If you don't know it, go watch it. It's great. And you can see the lineage from that movie to the Dukes of Hazzard and how it came to be. But the Dukes of Hazzard was a great TV show based on a car and nothing else. Basically, somebody said, hey, we got this cool car. Let's make a TV show. $6 Million Man. We can rebuild them. We have the technology. The Fall Guy. But, of course, my favorite, hands down, the best TV series ever produced, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Simon and Simon. That's Magnum P.I. turned up to 11. And as you can tell, I like Magnum P.I. Mr. P says, oils are out of control. I supplement the heat with electric heaters, and I'm sure it would be more expensive here if I didn't have them two heaters running. I had one heater that blew. I had one heater that blew heat like a steel mill. Wow. Now that's a good heater. Nothing beats a good old wood stove, though. I recommend strongly that you get one of those pig cast iron wood stoves and put it in your house. You have to chop a little wood, unless you're rich, and then you can go buy some wood. But trust me, that's the best heat. It'll heat everything. You won't be able to stay in there. It'll be so hot. And if you learn how to control the flukes on it, you can get a good even heat throughout the house, and it doesn't dry out your skin. And you can cook on it while you're heating the house. I grew up with a wood stove. Amanda says, Dukes of Hazzard and Smokey and the Bandit. Eastbound and down, loaded up to get there. We gonna do what they say can't be done. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Let it out and let that puppy run. Something like that. That was a good show. Smokey and the Bandit. I'm going to Get that son bitch. What it is says, Felix the cat. A little late, but yeah. Garfield was good, says Amy Elizabeth. Bill Murray did the voice of a Garfield. He didn't do the Garfield. He did one of the movies, or a few of the movies. I don't know if he did all of them. I think somebody else does Garfield now, but there's about 3 new Garfield movies that I remember in recent history, but I don't remember who did the voices. I do remember the ones that Bill Murray did, though. They were good. What about Alvin, Simon, and Theodore? What were they called? The Chipmunks. That was a good show. I watched that when I was a kid. Doot, 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 doot. Sorry, my chat jumped again. All right, let's get to where I can't see anymore, so I'm taking these sunglasses off. Y'all have had enough fun. All right, now I can read. Probably not. All right, I found it. Linda Davis says, Felix the cat. Yes, Felix the cat, Linda. I got it, says Fab Daddy. Mr. P says, the Great Waldo Pepper, Jake. Not Walfo. Oh, Waldo. Okay, that makes more sense. The Great Waldo Pepper. I still don't know who was in it. Amy says, Jessica Rabbit isn't bad. She's just drawn that way. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. Fab Daddy says, Elon is planning on Flight 8 possibly next week. What does that mean? Are you talking about going to Mars? Is that what he's going to do? Linda says, it was the Great Waldo Pepper. Robert Redford was in it. Okay. I'll have to check that out. I like Robert Redford. Batshit Crazy goes with that $1 super chat. Thank you, Bat. Mr. P says, that one heater barely raised my electric bill, but those 2 newer heaters brought the electric bill up almost $25. More than before the old one died on me. I'd go find what that old one was and go buy me another one if I was you. Amanda says, hi, Bat, and thank you. Walter Davis says, hi, Batshit. Batshit Crazy says, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. John H. says, Jake, porn name is Jackhammer Jake. Jackhammer Jake. I like it. Jackhammer Jake. Wow, wow. Amanda says, LOL, John, I plead the 5th. I don't jackhammer, do I? Mr. P says, welcome. Welcome. 1, 2, 3, I like my vampires that way, yes. Batshit says, electric blanket, save bucks. Right on. Oh, Mr. P renewed his membership. Thank you, Mr. P. He says, let's go. Here's to new friends becoming friends. Thank you, Mr. P. I appreciate you, sir. God bless you. Mr. P says, the heater thing makes no sense. New ones claim to use less energy. Full of shit. I agree. You know, your coffee pot probably draws more energy than your heater does. It'll make your lights dim when that thing kicks on. Fab Daddy says, at what age should I buy a case of Ensure? Well, you can do that now, Fab Daddy. Ensure just fill you full of electrolytes and vitamins and minerals and stuff that you need to regularly let your bowels move, I think. If I was you, I'd just drink Gatorade, though. It works for me. Walter Davis says, if the unemployment rate was graded the same as in the 30s, we would be worse than the Great Depression. Cutting the fat out of government is going to come at a cost. I understand that. And yes, it will. But I think ultimately it will be better for the country because right now we are spending so much money that is not coming into this country. And I hear the left say, oh, they're just putting all that money in their pockets. Listen, I would really rather prefer it be in their pockets because they will spend it here. That means if they get all that money and put it in their pockets and get rich off of it, fine. I don't care. Government is corrupt. It always has been. But it's not going overseas into another country's GDP. It's coming here, and they're spending it here, and it's circulating here, which means here has more money, which is what we're trying to do with this government cutting. And I think ultimately this is going to be a good thing. It is not unusual. They're making a big deal out of it on TV, but if you do a little cursory research, just a little, you'll find out that like 13 other presidents have done the same thing. They called it different things. Reagan called it the Grace Commission or something like that. Bill Clinton did it. Woodrow Wilson did it. FDR did it. There's quite a few people that have done it. Restructure how government works. And it always works out pushing us forward in the long run. Which is one of the reasons we had the big boom in the 80s is because of a restructuring of the government, which caused a lot of money to influx into the economy. Now, if that happens this time, we could look for a new golden age of spending money, like in the 80s when everything was cheap and everything was being bought. And people were going crazy. Everybody had one of those big brick phones. We'll have a time like that. I hope that's the outcome. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I can't tell you how it's going to go. But I can tell you what the hope is. And the hope is that more money will be in circulation here, not out there somewhere. People pay taxes. They don't want their money to leave the country. They want it to stay in the country and help the country. That's why we pay taxes. Bill says, first time in my life I feel hope for our country. Right on. I felt it before. I used to be very patriotic back in the day. I have not felt very patriotic for the last 16 years. But I'm feeling it bubbling up again. Amanda says, right, Bill? And Walter says, Bill, whatever happens is God's plan. I'm good with it. Right on, Walter. Absolutely. And Walter says, good night, Amanda. I think she said right, not night. But thank you. Oh, Mr. P hits me with a $5 super chat. He says, I don't have lots, but I don't mind giving a little of what I got. Thanks, Jake, and thanks, everyone. Mr. P, thank you. God bless you, sir. And obviously, you're not required to give anything, but I appreciate greatly the gesture. It means a lot. Thank you. And thank you to all those who take a moment to VJ. Because I've been a good dog. Amanda says, I'm not going anywhere, Walter. Nope, I think she said right, not night. But thank you. Mr. P says, amen, Bill. I can't wait to be back on track as a country. I don't know if they'll ever undo all the damage that the Dems and liberals have done. It's revolting. Well, I don't know if they can undo all that damage, but they're trying. They're doing something which is more than what the last administration did, which was nothing, or the opposite of nothing, which isn't something. Fab Daddy says, those Dems and liberals are your neighbors. Hi, neighbor. Not all of them. I have quite a few neighbors that aren't Dems or liberals. But nobody's got a problem with Dems or liberals. What we got a problem with is the leadership of Dems and liberals who are crazy and are doing crazy things. I know a lot of liberal people who don't agree with me on a lot, but they're normal, decent people, and there's no problems there. You and I get along just fine, and we disagree on quite a lot. Then there's the other ones, and the other ones are the ones we're bitching about, and those are the people that have lost their minds. They are no longer working with a full deck. They are insane. And I have a problem with those people. And they happen to be Democrats. It wouldn't matter what they are. I don't care if they're Republicans. If they lose their mind, I don't want to have anything to do with them. Fab Daddy says, I read that one. Mr. P says, hi there, neighbor. Sleep well. Sleep well knowing that we're making money again and that the country is back on track and that peace is around the corner. Not really, because there'll never be peace, but they're trying. And those hostages are coming home. Fab Daddy says, LOL. Mr. P says, loose flappers sinks ships, I hear. If you're using them for that, yeah, they could. Absolutely. Walter Davis says, 2 of my great aunts were flappers. Nice. I bet they were great to be around. Amanda says, DTF OMG, Jake. Hey, I'm just telling it like it is. That's what flapper girls did. You know why they were DTF? Because all the men were going off to war. And so they wanted to get a deposit before they left. And they did. That's where our parents' generation came from. Amy says, loose flappers make your toilet run. That's both ends of the joke. I like it. Fab Daddy says, if I told you I came from a hula dancer, would you believe me? It. Sure. A hula dancer? Are you telling me you're Hawaiian? Mr. P says, loose flappers on those with dappers. Loose flappers on those with the dappers. Well, you have to be dapper to attract a flapper, so I suppose you could be a dapper flapper or a flapper with a dapper. I don't know if you can be both. Bill Bennett says, buckwheat was on the Little Rascals. I thought, hell, I don't remember. No, buckwheat was on the Little Rascals. Eddie Murphy did a buckwheat impression on Saturday Night Live, which is why I mentioned that. Because he made a joke about the O-Tay. Right. Anyway. Fab Daddy says, I want to go back to my little grass shack in Kealona, Hawaii. Or Keanola, Hawaii. I want to go to Kamanawanalia, Hawaii. And open a Chinese restaurant called Cream of Some Young Guy. Fab Daddy says, we're the Makuna Kuna. Go swimming by. Mr. P says, anyone ever seen Upworld? I have, but I can't remember anything about it. I have seen it because I remember that name. I saw it as a kid and often thought of it over 30 years until finally seeing it again and thoroughly enjoyed it. I love those movies that take us back to being kids. Is Upworld about a ghost? Because I seem to have a flash in my mind of a girl in a little short skirt, a blue skirt, and something to do with a ghost. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but I have seen a movie called Upworld. Walter says, Moonrunners was great. Yes, it was a great show, great movie, very interesting, and there's a lot of the Dukes and Hazzard DNA in that movie. And a little bit of the movie Bullet is in Dukes of Hazzard too. Fun fact, when you're watching the Dukes of Hazzard, every time you hear the General Lee, the motor, you're actually hearing a Ford Mustang from the movie Bullet because that car sounded awesome. And so they took that sound and put it on the General Lee. The General Lee is not a stick shift, but when you watch the show, it sounds like one because it is one. It's a Ford Mustang. A little tidbit for you there. Fab Daddy says, stay humble, warm, and hydrated. 2 and 5, Chat and Jake. Fab Daddy, thank you for being here, brother. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow night for Politics, and we'll talk all about the politics stuff. I'm going to run down some of the executive orders and some of the confirmations and some of the good stuff that's happening in the world. See if we can make a good podcast about good things in the Trump administration. That's what we're after. So come see me for Politics tomorrow night, and you can offer your other side to my opinion. Amanda says, good night, Fab Daddy. And Linda says, Captain Lou Albano playing Mario in the Mario Brothers movie. Captain Lou Albano played Mario in the Mario Brothers movie. I don't know who Lou Albano is, but it was Bob Hoskins who played Mario in the original Mario Brothers movie. And John Leguizamo played Luigi. So Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo played brothers who were Italian, even though one is Polish and the other is Mexican. Don't know why they chose those two to play those roles, but whatever. It was the 80s, and there was a lot of cocaine involved, so. Amy Elizabeth says the original Blade Runner was good. Gene Simmons was the bad guy. The bad guy was Rutger Hauer. I guess it depends on who you're considering the bad guy of the movie. Blade Runner. Are you talking about Blade Runner with Harrison Ford? I have to go back and look. There might have been, I'm trying to remember the characters. Batty was the actual bad guy. He was the replicant that didn't want to die, played by Rutger Hauer. But there were several other characters that could have been bad guys too, such as the owner of the company, the toy maker, the guy that made the androids, and the bad cop who was after Harrison Ford because he thought he was a replicant. So I don't remember which one was Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons, clearly not the bass player for Kiss, not who you're talking about. I'm going to go back and look. Linda Davis says, played, Captain Lou Albano played Mario in the Mario Brothers movie. Unless Bob Hoskins played a character named Captain Lou Albano, I don't know. Walter says, Linda loves Magnum P.I. Me too. That's one of my favorite shows. I love all things detective. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love Magnum P.I. I even love, there was a serial in the 80s where they would do TV shows where every TV show was different. It was like an anthology TV show. And they would make up detectives for that one episode. And it would be like just a one-off mystery. So each episode was a different detective in a different time period with different, quirks and personality traits. And I love that show. And I can't remember what it was called now. But it was something like Mystery Science Theater, but it was for detectives. Anyway, I love all things detective. Mr. P says, Magnum P.I. is great. I still watch that show. Have you watched the new one? It's not bad. Higgins is a girl, and there's some weirdness to it, but it's not bad. It's a pretty decent show. Linda says, LOL, Walter. Amy says, Walter, Tom Selleck loves March 14th, P.I. Day. Nice. John says, Hardcastle and McCormick. Yep, I like that. Jake and the Fat Man, for that matter. Amy says, remember the movie Convo? I don't. Who was in it? Amy says, this here's the rubber duck for your ears on. Nice. Batshit Crazy says, Blood's Brothers, Blackula. Animal House. Yes. Blood Brothers, Blackula, and Animal House. All good movies. Blackula is a blaxploitation movie from the 70s, or made in the vein of that. I don't know if it actually came out in the 70s. I think it did. But there were some interesting movies in the 70s. Blaxploitation is the same thing as sexploitation, but for black folks. And there were some really good movies. In fact, Eddie Murphy just did a movie based on blaxploitation movies not too long ago, and it was pretty good. Mr. P says, apparently, lots of gays watch Magnum P.I. Hey, I just like the detective stuff and the pace. Well, if you go back and watch Magnum P.I. and look at his friend Rick and them little shorts and his little bandana, it's kind of hard not to see it that way. We didn't catch it then because it's the 80s and everybody dressed weird, but if you go back and watch it now, they're a little bit light in the loafers. But beside the point, it's a good detective story, and it's got great characters. So, yeah, apparently a lot of gay people do watch Magnum P.I. Convoy. Got it. I do remember that movie, Amy. Mr. P says Robert Redford was in it. Jake. Right on. That's the Waldo Pepper. Yep. Walter says Robert Redford was the lead of Waldo Pepper. It was a change of times kind of movie, like American Graffiti. I got you. What it is my Waldo Pepper hangs low and to the left. Mine too, buddy. Mr. P hits me with that $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Amanda says, woohoo, Mr. P, thanks for still being here. Yes, thanks for hanging in there, buddy. I appreciate you a lot. Batshit Crazy says, Magnum P.I. got beat up constantly. Yes, because he was not a tough guy. He was a house cat. Think about who Tom Selleck's character was, Magnum P.I. He was a guy who was friends with an author who became rich and famous because he made this great series of books, and he's a millionaire or whatever. And he's living on the guy's couch. So the guy says, I tell you what, why don't you just stay here and keep an eye on the place for me while I'm out running around traipsing the world, you know. So Magnum P.I. is a couch potato surfing on the couch of Robin Masters, who is the rich guy. And his, what's the guy called? I can't think of the word now, but it means house master. Starts with a D. I just lost the word. Anyway, basically, the housemaster, Higgins, is aghast at the presence of Tom Selleck because he thinks he's a lazy bum who is taking advantage of Robin Masters, which he is. So he tells him, Robin May told you could stay here and drive his car, but I'm telling you if you're going to stay here, you got to have a job because you're not going to freeload while I'm here. Somebody think of that word for me because it's driving me crazy. Starts with a D, and it means housemaster. All I can think of is dojo, and that's not the right word. Yeah, I'm stuck on that word, and I can't think of anything but what is that word? Anyway. So anyway, Magnum P.I. is a bum. He's not a tough guy. He's not a Mr. Billy Badass. So when he becomes a detective, it's because it's the only thing he knows how to do is talk, right? And he's not a very good detective. He kind of stumbles his way through most of these investigations until he finally becomes good at it towards the end of the series. Remember all the scenes where he's picking locks and the Dobermans are chasing him? What is it?
Maitre D?
It's not Maitre D, but that's close. It's the male version of that. Starts with a D. Pretty sure it does. Anyway, I'm losing words. I can't keep up with my vocabulary. But it's like Maitre D. I can't think of it. Anyway. But yeah, he got beat up constantly because he was not good at it. The only thing he had going for him is he served in the Army, so he was tough. But he wasn't much of a fighter. Mr. P says, yep. I meant here's to new friends, dropping the new and now friends. I tried to sum it up in 50 characters. Well, you did a good job there, Mr. P. I got exactly what you were trying to say. Here's to new friends becoming friends. Like permanent friends, not new friends, just friends. Old friends. New friends becoming old friends. I like it. Amy says, Tom Jones, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Yes. What it is says, loose flappers makes your underwear brown in texture. Ew. True. Ew. Amanda says, thank you, Mr. P, for that $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Walter Davis says, right now, Amanda imports food. Sorry, America imports food. We don't feed ourselves, whether farming or fishing. That's the next big economic boom. Chemical farming is coming to an end. Production is going to contort. I don't know what you're trying to write there. Production is going to continue. I'm not sure what that word is. Batshit says, old Cash Patel gonna whoop some ass. I think he is. I'm excited to see what he does anyway. Walter Davis says, without the chemicals, the farmland won't produce. Get ready or go hungry. I hear you. I hope the idea is to bring all of that stuff back to America, to have people doing it in America again. I don't know that that's going to happen. Obviously, it takes people to do that, and we have to get everybody on board doing it. But we just have to wait and see. Something's got to happen, though. Something has to change, and at least this administration is trying to change it. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but at least it's different. It's not the same old, same old. Batshit says, Canada and America grow plenty of food. I think so. Walter says, insurance claims keep big agriculture alive. Probably. I know there are a lot of subsidies involved in farming. A lot of mysterious checks for farms that produce bad food. Like I watch them around here. They'll grow crops and then they'll cut them down. And you're like, what? They didn't harvest it. They cut it down. It's because they don't have to. They get paid for it by a subsidy. Now, I don't know how that works because I'm not involved in that world, but I know they're getting big checks just for having a farm. They're not actually producing anything a lot of the time. Patty says, well, I do not know anything about Hawaii. I don't either, except that there are hardly any black people there, and it's very expensive to live there. And Hawaiians aren't necessarily crazy about white people being there. That's all I know about Hawaii. Linda says, OMG, Jake, I just crackled so loud. I can't remember what I said that was funny, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Mr. P says, yep, sure does, Walter. Unfortunately. Oh, come on, I want to lay you. Cream of some young guy. I remember that. Mr. P says, yep. Sure does, Walter. Unfortunately, there are those in big agriculture who take advantage of the system while also being subsidized, as I just said. Amy says, Jake could start a fortune cookie company named Some Dumb Guy. If I did, my first fortune would be help. I'm trapped in a fortune cookie factory. Send help. Amy Elizabeth said, just kidding. It's a movie reference, The Last Dragon. Right on. Mine was a movie reference, too. I just can't remember what movie. Mr. P says, Upwards with Anthony Michael Hall. Upworld is with Anthony Michael Hall, and I believe the little rat character from magical underground realm humans don't know about. Okay, so it's about a magical underground, and humans don't know about it. I did see it, but it's been so long ago I don't remember anything about it. For some reason, I was thinking it had to do with a ghost, but it has to do with something unnatural that humans don't know about. Have you seen the movie Legend? It's a Tom Cruise. It's one of his only forays into fantasy. It's actually a pretty good movie, though. A little long-winded, but pretty good. It's right up there with The Never-Ending Story as far as quality. Walter Davis says, true, Jake, a real Chrysler Hemi had a very distinct sound. Yes, it did, and it did not sound like a Ford Mustang or a stick shift. And Amy says, Lou Albano used to wrestle, rubber bands in his beard, friends with Cyndi Lauper. Okay. I think I know who you're talking about. But no, the guy that played Mario was Bob Hoskins. He's a British actor, known for serious roles. He did do a few, such as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was in that too. He did a few comedy movies. Most of his movies, he played a tough guy or a gangster or something like that. Amy says, I'm getting my movies confused. That's all right. That's what I'm here for. I'm a movie buff-ish. I'm a movie buff-ish. I kind of am a movie buff. I've seen everything, but I can't remember to talk about it. I didn't know that I was supposed to talk about it until recently, and so I'm learning how to talk about movies. You want a guy that knows his shit, though? Robert Meyer Burnett. If you're into movies, go listen to that guy talk. He knows everything about everything. I just am barely hanging on with the movie commentary. But I am trying. Walter says the Chrysler Hemi was time different, like a 427 Chevy and a 427 Ford. Got on. Walter says it was a real race engine. Mr. P says, hey, Jake, something we got in common. Fans of detective shows. Yes, I love detective shows. That's awesome. We ought to do like a Sherlock Holmes watch and just talk about Sherlock Holmes mysteries. That'd be fun. Hang on, my chat jumped again. I'm still trying to remember that D word, and it's killing me. No, go look up Higgins' job title in Magnum P.I. Oh, Linda says, sorry, Lou Albano played in the Mario Brothers show. I grew up with him. I went to school with his son. Okay. It's not the movie. The movie was Bob Hoskins. Major Domo, that's it. God, I couldn't think of it. It saved my life. Major Domo. That's what Higgins is. Starts with an M, but it has a D in it. See how my brain works? It's just fried. It just doesn't remember anymore. Major Domo. Domo is why I thought it had a D in it. Mr. P says, I've watched it. I can't sit straight through the new one like I could the old show. The Magnum P.I. Yeah. It's all right. It's not terrible. It isn't as good as the original, but it is all right. For modern times, for the things that they have been doing, like, have you seen the new MacGyver? Terrible. So, for remaking shows, it's not terrible. It's about as good as the remake of Hawaii Five-0. Patty says the A-Team. How did I not think of the A-Team? Yes. If you have a problem and you can find them, you can hire the A-Team. I really enjoyed the A-Team back in the day. One of the cheapest shows ever filmed, but it was great. And where did he get that blowtorch? Mr. P says, I do recall Convoy. Vaguely, Amy. Amy says, I was thinking of Escape from New York, not Blade Runner. Okay, all right. That's a different story altogether. That's Snake Plissken, played by Russell Crowe. Nope, the other Russell. Kurt Russell. And it's a great show. Escape from New York, Escape from L.A. Great movies. Mr. P says the A-Team was another decent show. So was Knight Rider. I guess Knight Rider was okay, yeah. Airwolf was a great show. I really enjoyed when I was a kid. I used to draw that helicopter all the time. Amy says, yes, Patty. Mr. P says, or Knight Rider. Ha 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 ha. I can't remember the spelling. It's K. Knight Rider. Knight Rider. And Airwolf, says Amanda. Yep, Airwolf. There was actually another show that came out at the same time called Blue Thunder, which was basically the same show, only more serious. It never went anywhere. Airwolf was the thing. Amanda says, Knight Rider, Mr. P. I have 2 kit cars sitting on my dresser. You do? I know you got a Starship Enterprise because I bought it for you. Mr. P says, I just watched a few episodes of Airwolf. The guy with the, what was his name? Alex Borgnine? Something Borgnine? I miss that guy. He was a good actor. And then Jan Michael Vincent is the guy. I can't remember his character's name. Kip, maybe? Something like that. Amy says, so Magnum P.I. was a squatter? Kind of, sort of. I don't know if you'd call him a squatter, just a couch potato. You know, just somebody that comes and never leaves, you know. Basically, he was his buddy to Robin Masters, who was the author who was out globetrotting, running the world. You know, he never was home. But he owned this nice big mansion, and so Magnum P.I. just came and stayed at his house. And Robin left, and left Magnum there. And Magnum didn't want to leave, and Robin didn't seem to mind him being there, and Robin let him drive his car. So that red car was not Magnum's car, it was Robin's car. All of the vehicles there were Robin's. Everything Magnum used was Robin's. So I guess kind of a squatter, yeah. Only the guy knew about it. Mr. P says, yeah, my brain remembered the name of the first time. Yeah, my brain remembered the name the first time, Knight Rider. That's right. Same here, Jake. Can't recall things like I used to. It's like I've got so many words floating around in my head that I reach out to grab one and it's not there. I mean, I know the word, I just can't grab it when I need it. Sometimes it'll hit me like 2 hours later. There, that's the word. It was too late then. I've already said what I had to say. It's not good for an orator to not be able to speak. But I'm working on it. I need to take some CoQ10 or some ginseng or something to get my brain firing. Amy says, Doyen? Nope, not Doyen. It's Major Domo is the word I was looking for and couldn't find. And it doesn't start with a D, it starts with an M. It's 2 words, Major Domo. But it basically means housemaster, yeah. Bill Bennett says, Airwolf was my favorite. I don't remember anything but the chopper in the mountain. Yes. It was basically a detective show, only they did the detectiving from a helicopter. It's a pretty cool show, though. Had that guy with the black eye, the pair of glasses with the one blacked out eye. Very menacing character. Mr. P says, yeah. Yep, same, Bill. Just that and lots of shooting. Oh, yeah. Shooting was a must in the 80s TV show. Butler, housemaster. That's right. Major Domo. That's the rich way of saying butler. He's more than a butler. He takes care of the affairs and does the paperwork and has access to the title to the house, the deed, and all that stuff. And he does charity events in town and organizes things for the house, like events to go on and parties. And so it's more than a butler, but he does keep up the place too. So Major Domo is really its own title. A little bit more than a butler. Guess who's in charge while the master's away? Mr. P says, oh, he said, started with a D. I was lost. I know. I heard it in my head as Domo, but it was Major Domo. And Linda says, do you mean Major Domo? That's what Higgins is. That's what I meant, Linda. I just couldn't think of the word. And Mr. P says, actually thought of butler. He's a little bit more than a butler. He knows Kung Fu. Remember? And has a cannon and dogs. I don't know a D one. Can't find one, says Amanda. No, it was Major Domo. I just heard it as a D in my head for some reason. It's M. Mr. P says, oh. First fortune cookie ought to be from the master. Remember that Golden Glow and Sho'nuff movie? Good flick. Sho'nuff? I remember Shogun. I used to love Kung Fu movies back in the day. I got kind of burnt out on them because there's so many of them, but back in the early 80s, it was a really unique thing. And all these Kung Fu movies were coming out, and the TV show Kung Fu was on TV, and it was a big thing. And I used to love that stuff. Bruce Lee, all that kind of thing. They just don't make movies like that anymore. Wish they did. Amy says, Mr. P, Jake's chat's about to jump, and he's going to be lost. Give him a minute. He'll catch up. Mr. P, that's the movie. I thought it was called The Last Dragon. Sure enough. Got it. Mr. P says, yes, could not bring up the name. You got it now. And thanks, Amy. Amy says, Bruce Leroy. Right on. Mr. P says, Magnum P.I. was a mooch who met a rich dude doing research on a book or doing a job for him. Something like that. And they sold that Ferrari for a lot of money. I bet they did. And that Ferrari is a glorified Datsun, by the way. If you go look at it, it's a Datsun. It just has a Ferrari frame. Diego, what's up, buddy? He says, hello, everyone. Doing great tonight. Nice to see you, Diego. Thanks for dropping in at 10:45. I said I was going to quit at 10, didn't I? Amy says, hi, Diego. And Amanda says, hi, Diego. Diego says, hello, I'm here. I have kyohyok. You watch your mouth. What is a kyohyok? Kyohyok. I don't know what that is. He says, just kidding, though. Kyohyok is a name for ticks and fleas in Mexico. Ah, got it. Kyohyok. Ticks and fleas? But those are different things. Mr. P says, they went through 50 of those vans making that show. Was on for about 5 seasons, I think. Which, the A-Team? Oh, yeah. You ought to do a little research into how many Dodge Chargers they used in the filming of Dukes of Hazzard. They literally ran out of Dodge Chargers. They were stopping people on the side of the road, chasing them down at red lights and asking them if they could buy their car because they ran out of Dodge Chargers. That's how many they used. There's some at the bottom of lakes. There's some in various places all over the world that were used in that show. It's crazy. Now, interestingly enough, if you see a Dodge Charger, chances are it's a kit car and it's actually a Chevy Impala because it has the same wheelbase and they just make a fiberglass body to put on top of the Chevy Impala. It's interesting. Thank you. Mr. P says, the A-Team. Ernest Borgnine, that's him. ℂ𝕙𝕚𝕝𝕝𝕝𝕝, the guy with the eyebrows. I like that guy. Amanda says, LOL, yes, Jake. They are sitting next to the printer. My kit cars. You miss so much. It's because I don't care. I'm not paying attention to kit cars. I didn't even know I had a printer. What are you talking about? Amy says, ℂ𝕙𝕚𝕝𝕝𝕝. That's the guy. Bill says, Kit was the first AI. LOL. Actually, the computer in Star Trek was the first AI, but I'll let you have that. Amanda says, Kit was the first self-driving car. True. Amy says, Domo arigato. Ciao, Mr. Roboto. Oh, domo arigachu, Mr. Robo. Domo arigato. Mr. P says, me too, Jake. I even had the Office Chuck Norris karate gi. Right on. The official Chuck Norris karate gi. Yeah, Chuck Norris is the guy who fought Bruce Lee in, I believe it was Return of the Dragon. It might have been The Last Dragon. I think it was Return of the Dragon. Anyway, he was one of the bad guys that Bruce Lee fought. It was the big reveal, and it was because Bruce Lee was an actual fighter in America at that time and was actually a champion fighter. So they got him to fight Bruce Lee and lose, and that brought Chuck Norris onto the scene. And next thing you know, we've got all those sticky Florida action movies that Chuck Norris was in because of that movie. Bruce Lee introduced Chuck Norris to the world. Bill Bennett says, good night, guys, and thanks, Jake. Good night, Bill. I'm not far behind you, buddy. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow night. Mr. P says, LOL, Amy. Batshit Crazy says, don't be a quitter. Right on. I ain't no quitter. Amanda says, good night, Bill. And Linda Davis says, good night, Bill. Hang on. Mr. P says, good night, Bill. See you next time, brother. And Amanda says, shaking my head, men. Men. What? Because we like karate? Batshit Crazy says, Space Odyssey. Early AI. Yep, Space Odyssey. You talking about 2010 or 2001, A Space Odyssey? Yeah. But that was in the 70s. Star Trek was in 1969. So that was the earliest AI that I'm aware of. Unless there was something on Flash Gordon. I don't think so, though. I think Star Trek was the first talking computer, so yeah. Yeah. 2001, A Space Odyssey came out in 70. I want to say 70. John says, Bruce broke Chuck Norris's nose in real life. Probably. They hit pretty hard in those movies. And if you don't get out of the way, you get hit. Amy says, I'm heading out too, y'all. Amy, thank you for being here. God bless you, sweetheart. Stay warm. We'll see you tomorrow night. Linda says, good night, Amy. Batshit Crazy says, early Burt Reynolds, fantabulous. Right on. Like Burt Reynolds. Amy says, clocking out. Going home soon. It's been a long week. Arigato. Asshole. What do you call me? Amy says, LOL, Mr. P. He's lost since I got here. I've been organizing and getting everything straightened up, so he don't know where anything is. It's so true. And Mr. P says, yep, it's about that time. Good night, ladies. Mr. P, God bless you, sir. Thank you for being here. Catch you next time. Amanda says, good night, Mr. P. Linda Davis says, good night, Mr. P. And Mr. P says, good night, Jake. 15 people still watching. Shame to shut down. I know, but I got to go to bed. John says, good night, everybody. John, God bless you. Thank you for being here, buddy. Mr. P says, good night, Linda. Heart and smiley face. And Amanda says, good night, Amy and John. Batshit Crazy says, Namaste to all. Namaste. Linda Davis says, ℂ𝕙𝕛 ℂ𝕙𝕛. That's a CSI joke. You'll get that later.
SVU.
Linda Davis says, good night all. Thanks, Jake and Amanda. ℂ𝕙𝕛. Amanda says, good night, batshit crazy, and good night, Linda. And Mr. P says, good night, everyone. I missed. Apologies. Well, no apologies necessary. We made it. We're at the bottom of the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Amanda says, Law and Order SVU. Yes, it was a joke. It was a response to Namaste because I don't know what the actual response is, but ℂ𝕙𝕛 sounds right. So we'll go with that. All right. I love you guys. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night for some politics, and we're going to talk about all of the good things Trump has been doing here in the last month. Sayonara, Mr. P. Sayonara. Ciao, baby. Thanks for watching. See you next time.